Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. For over a month, the name Menglong has echoed across borders, stirring questions that refuse to fade. What truly happened behind those sealed walls in China? Was it an accident, a tragedy, or something far darker hidden beneath layers of silence? Tonight on Update X24H, we uncover not just a story of loss, but one of courage, truth, and the power of people who refuse to forget. In the weeks following Menglong's mysterious death, an unsettling silence descended across the digital landscape of China. Official reports claimed that there was nothing unusual. No crime, no suspects, no need for further questions. His death, they said, was a tragic accident, and the swift cremation was merely standard procedure. Yet something about the narrative felt forced, polished, and disturbingly final. Those who knew him, even from a distance, felt a growing ache in their chest. A quiet intuition that what they were told was not the whole truth. The calmness of the statement contrasted too sharply with the chaos that followed, as if the very act of explaining had been designed to erase rather than to reveal. Within days, online discussions began to vanish. Comments disappeared without trace, hashtags suddenly stopped working, and entire threads of heartfelt messages turned blank. It was as if a digital curtain had been pulled over the collective grief of millions. But behind that silence, whispers began to travel, soft, uncertain, yet unstoppable. Fans who had once shared songs and performances of Menglong now shared fragments of screenshots, memories, and theories. They spoke cautiously, often using coded language to avoid detection. What had begun as mourning evolved into a quiet investigation, led not by journalists or police, but by ordinary people whose only weapon was persistence. The disappearance of truth became a spectacle in itself. Every post deleted was a new clue. Every vanished photo deepened the mystery. People began saving files under different names, disguising them as harmless images or notes, circulating them through encrypted channels. The effort was not driven by rebellion, but by love, a desperate attempt to protect the memory of someone who could no longer protect himself. And through this growing shadow of censorship, one realization spread like wildfire. Silence was not peace. It was fear. It was control. It was the systematic rewriting of reality. In trying to bury one man's story, something far greater was uncovered. The resilience of a community that refused to let memory die. Even as words were deleted and screens went dark, the truth continued to flicker, alive in the hearts of those who still dared to remember. While silence blanketed the official narrative, there were still people who refused to let Menglong's story fade into the void. They were not politicians, journalists, or activists, but ordinary individuals, students, fans, artists, and friends, united by one quiet conviction, that remembrance itself was a form of resistance. These people understood the risks that came with speaking out, yet they chose to do so in ways that transcended words. They shared his photos in secret, whispered his name through encrypted messages, and wrote poetry inspired by his gentleness and courage. What began as grief slowly became a movement, subtle, invisible, but deeply human. Across countless screens, small acts of remembrance began to appear. Digital candles glowed on fan pages before being taken down. Videos of his performances were reposted again and again, even as they vanished within hours. Each re-upload was a declaration that he still existed, that his voice had not been stolen, only silence for a time. In chat groups hidden behind layers of anonymity, people spoke about the values he stood for: integrity, compassion, and an unyielding desire to live truthfully in a world that often punishes honesty. They weren't fighting a government, they were fighting amnesia. Some of Menglong's colleagues, bound by non-disclosure agreements and fear, found quiet ways to honor him too. One assistant changed her profile picture to a single white flower. A costume designer posted an image of a stage light left on in an empty room. These were gestures small enough to go unnoticed by the system, yet large enough to be recognized by those who cared. Every subtle sign became a whisper of defiance. Outside of China, the wave of empathy grew stronger. Fans from South Korea, Japan, the United States, France, and beyond began organizing online vigils. They didn't know the full truth, but they knew loss when they saw it. In different languages, one message kept appearing. You are not gone if we still remember. That simple belief turned mourning into unity. And so the people who refused to forget built something extraordinary out of pain. A silent archive of love and truth that no algorithm could erase. In their hearts, Menglong remained not a victim, but a symbol, proof that even in the darkest silence, memory has a voice of its own. When the first leaked video surfaced, it spread like a spark through a field of dry grass, brief, trembling, and impossible to contain. The footage was grainy, dimly lit, and nearly unbearable to watch, showing Menglong in a state that no one should ever have to endure. Within hours, the clip was erased from every major platform in China, replaced by official denials claiming it was fabricated, an edited performance taken out of context. But the damage was already done. For those who had seen it, even for a few seconds, the image could never be unseen. It was not merely a video, it was a wound that refused to close. Soon after, more leaks emerged, each one more harrowing, each one testing the limits of what the public could believe. A second video showed him on the floor, trembling, his breathing uneven as someone poured an unidentified liquid over his back. Experts abroad later identified signs of chemical burns. Yet instead of launching an investigation, authorities doubled down on censorship. Entire forums vanished overnight. Keywords related to the video returned empty search results. And in a cruel twist, those sharing the footage out of concern were accused of spreading foreign misinformation. But the world had already taken notice. Outside China, digital communities began archiving every second of the footage, translating transcripts, and analyzing frames to understand what had happened. Independent journalists and human rights researchers studied lighting angles, timestamps, and camera metadata to prove authenticity. What began as a series of shaky clips had evolved into a digital autopsy conducted by global citizens determined to protect the truth. Each new release added to the collective outrage. There was one where you appeared to be kneeling, forced to recite rehearsed lines, his voice breaking under duress. Another captured faint traces of injuries on his face, the kind that spoke of prolonged suffering. With every deleted post, more people joined the movement to preserve his story. The attempt to erase him had failed, because every act of suppression only strengthened the determination of those who still cared. The leaks no longer belonged to one country. They had become global evidence of both brutality and courage. Through the horror and heartbreak, a truth emerged, that no matter how tightly information is controlled, humanity's instinct to seek justice will always find a way to break through the silence. Today, more than a month later, the Menglong case is no longer just about one man's death. It's about humanity's unyielding pursuit of truth. It reminds us that silence is never neutral. It either protects the powerful or empowers the brave. Artists around the world have begun creating tribute works, paintings, poems, digital art, inspired by Yu's perseverance and spirit. Some universities even discuss his story in media ethics classes, using it as a case study of modern censorship and moral courage. Through pain, Menglong's legacy continues to teach the world that transparency, empathy, and collective memory are stronger than any wall of silence. If this story moved you, share it, not to spread fear, but to remind others that the truth deserves light. Subscribe to Update X24H for more powerful stories that speak beyond headlines. Stories about courage, compassion, and the fight for justice in every corner of the world. Thank you for watching, and remember, even when voices are silenced, truth always finds a way to be heard.